People, you know, it's too early in the day for people to be this stupid. It's impossible to be this stupid. I have to start asking people, how do you function in everyday society? How do you get up in the morning and be that stupid? I don't understand it. If those are what I'm talking about, we're going to get into it today. There's been a number of things that have happened since last week on to today, and I want a couple subjects I need to touch on because I refuse to believe that this community is still being divided over petty things, and the people who keep dividing them are getting awards for it. That's right. As a community, we should be above a lot of these things by now, and yet we aren't. We are still on these same issues, and I want to start today with EA. Yeah, y'all know the rest. Anyways, let's start with EA. Developers of EA of Titanfall, or should I say Titanfail, you should know what I'm talking about at this point, can't shoot through walls. The mechs, the large 40-foot mechs can't shoot through walls. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? Mechs with all that firepower can't shoot through walls. What? What? Let me get this straight. In Call of Duty, you can shoot through walls at one point with bullet penetration, but large mechs with all types of firepower that can turn you into ash can't shoot through walls? And you know what they're saying is, you know, that would make it kind of unfair. And pretty much what they're trying to do is cater to the Call of Duty community, all right, when it comes to camping. That's what it is. Don't tell me that a 40-foot mech can't shoot through a damn building. That makes no sense. I don't understand gamers. This is all hand-holding these days. I don't understand gamers and being okay with this because I've seen a lot of people try to defend this. There's no defense for it. All right? There's not. And I don't understand this. You should know by now what gaming has taught us is that you're supposed to be the underdog. That you're supposed to have these epic battles. That's what, remember, this is what you're supposed to be in gaming in general. But instead, in today's generation, we're seeing a lot of hand-holding. We're seeing players who are armed to the teeth and a bunch of shooting galleries. If I see a large mech, and for this wild-style parkour thing that they're trying to go for in Titanfail, you damn right I want to go after that mech head-on with my agility. I'm not trying to hide behind a wall and pick them off and carry. That's just stupid. I'll put it like this. It ruins the flow of the battle. It ruins the experience if you're just going to sit around and do that. I want to know because, like I said, games of yesteryear have taught us the bigger the objects are, the harder they fall. They stack you up with an impossible task, and you have this little thing, and you're just going to go at it, and you're going to make it happen. And I have to ask Call of Duty, you know, not commentators who are for it as well, but Call of Duty campers, cowards, tell me, how would you have fared against this thing back in the PS2 era? I hope this game crashes and burns if all you're going to sit here and cater to campers. Don't you understand? That's the problem today with shooting games like this, with first-person shooters and such. It's the camping. Nobody likes it. And you're going to play up to that? You've got to be kidding me. It makes no sense for this to happen. Like I said, unless they change this thing, it deserves to fail horribly. And the same people who sit here and say, oh, Titanfall is great, and try to give it all this praise are the same people who wouldn't give Armored Core a chance, or the same people who wouldn't give Chrome House a chance. Don't give me this garbage, man. You want to sit here and play this type of game and think it's okay if I just sit in the corner and pick off a mech? That's stupid. But yet, that's all right. Because things are going to change whether developers like this or not. That's right. For those who don't know, Microsoft has already come out and said, if you decide to camp in games, they are going to ban you. You are put on notice. It seems as though there's going to be a miscommunication between the publishers, developers, and the console makers. This is going to be a problem in the future. I can see a lot of gamers turning around and saying, I was unfairly banned for something that's not illegal. Yeah, I can see this being a problem. This is all politics and jargon as far as I'm concerned with this is right now. And speaking of politics, I want to talk about this right now. Because for those who don't know, the U.S. government spends $10 million, that's right, in research on the connections of games and gun violence. And fails horribly. Now we know that there's no connection with gun violence and video games. We know this. Why did you spend $10 million of taxpayers' money for this research? It is a joke. And I found it kind of hypocritical because, as we all know, politics and video games have always come hand in hand since back in the day. Politics and politicians have always been a part of the gaming culture, especially back in the day up to now with NBA Jam, where you can somewhat say that it was violent when you could push people, unlike arch rivals when you could punch people. However, you also have to look at when the president is kidnapped by ninjas. guess what? You're going to go get bad dudes, which, as we know, at the time was a violent video game itself, kicking and punching a bunch of ninjas to get to get the president back. And then when you save the president, he offers you out for a hamburger. But if the president isn't kidnapped, let's talk about the president's daughter being kidnapped, and you hire Leon Kennedy to go save her. See, you can find all these type of scenarios where the president or politics are involved in games. It has been ingrained in our culture, okay? But should we just talk about the same old run-of-the-mill thing that we've seen with Barack Obama and Burnout with his campaign? Nah, that's too easy. You know, I really get sick and tired of seeing gamers being targets, because that's what we are at this point. And I've done this for video. Every time politicians come out and say something about gamers and how we're killers and how we're rapists and how we're morally corrupt and the companies are corrupting us, no, they're not. All right, with their games. Let me explain something to you. All right, if politicians who are supposed to be, our world leaders and such, and run these states and cities and countries, and they all believe that this is true, it goes to show you the mentality of where they're at. It goes to show you the maturity of where they're at. They are not for you. Remember, you voted them in. You can also take them out. It's sad that we have to go through this. I'm sorry, but $10 million of taxpayers' money, that's absolutely ridiculous. But there's no outrage for that for some reason. But I guarantee you, when Flappy Birds, and I'm going to get to that later, when Flappy Bird went out, all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. We will talk about that later. But first, I want to talk about more unfairness, okay? Because I want to talk about Arkham Origins. That's right, Batman Arkham Origins. The developers are focusing on DLC rather than game-breaking bugs. People, they've already come out and said, they're not fixing this. They're not fixing it. All right? So you know what? Since they don't want to fix the game-breaking bugs, boycott them. That's how you send the message. Don't tell me it's okay for them to keep pumping you with DLC and DLC, but won't fix the problems in the game. That is ridiculous. That disrespects you as a consumer. What's wrong with you? Don't support this. I was going to buy the game when the Game of the Year edition came out, like I did with the other Batmans, all right? Because you should know by now how this goes, all right? But that's not what they want to do. No. They're telling you already they're not going to fix the game. So guess what? Me? I'm not buying it at all. You lost the sale. That's simple. It's sad that this is what it's come down to. What's more important? Keeping your consumers happy so they keep coming back, or disrespecting them? Now, gamers, understand, as a community, you have to get off of this thing where it's like, ooh, shiny ball, because that's what you're doing. You know how bad these people are treating you, and yet as soon as they show a trailer or give you a demo or whatever, you're back on the horse. You have to have some type of resolve. This is ridiculous. Games are not bigger than the community. Do you understand that? The community keeps the games alive. You gonna tell me if any fighting game, let's just say, for example, Street Fighter. If the community wasn't there for Street Fighter, they wouldn't keep making Street Fighter? All right then. It's not the products that keep them going. It's the community that keeps the products going. See, the companies have kind of tried to flip it on us, and they truly believe that it's their product that will carry them to the forefront, when it's not. It's the community. Because if you don't keep in contact with your community and say, hey, what can we do to make things better, you will have an obsolete game. But it seems like people don't want to hear that anymore. And it seems like there's been somewhat of a struggle, I say this right now. They're keeping you, I'm telling you, they're keeping you torn. Because you have some gamers who believe, well, the game-breaking bugs aren't that bad. And then you have other gamers who complain and say, look, I can't even play the game because it's so bad. And then you have other gamers who are criticizing the game like this. It's sad that in the end of all this, they're still letting you know that they don't care about you. That if you leave, if one gamer leaves, another gamer will come and replace them. But what they're not realizing is that the quality of that gamer. They don't care anymore about quality. They just want you to fall in line. That's what this comes down to. Send a message to these people and let them know. It's not even just the developers, because they deserve flack a little bit for, being in, cahoots with WB. But this is WB's baby. They make the calls. They are the ones that need to see, hey, look, we're not selling that much anymore. Okay, maybe it is time we fix things. Send them a message and everything go back to normal. You don't screw over the community, because at the end of it all, there are strength in numbers. And it's sad, because I'm going to bring that up later about having strength in numbers, because it works in a positive way and a negative way. And speaking of positive and negatives, I want to talk about Flappy Bird now. Okay, first off, Flappy Bird is shut down. People are panicking. Why are you panicking? It's a damn game. All right, oh, it's going offline, it's going offline. The developer had said, the guy who made this game said, this game, excuse me, was supposed to be for relaxing purposes. And then as we saw, especially on Twitter, if you watch all these people play the game and post their scores, people are frustrated. All right, it's not relaxing, it's frustrating. And before you know it, this guy was getting bombarded with messages. Apparently his life was turning horribly because of the way gamers were treating him. I don't understand this. So he shut the game down, and then he says it's for your own good because you become obsessed with it. I'm okay with that, all right? But people understand this, all right? First off, this is how desperate people have become. Phones with Flappy Bird games on them sell for thousands of dollars. Not that serious. Really not that serious. You've got to be kidding me if you think that's okay. You're going to start paying thousands of dollars for an actual phone with the game on it? Come on now. Y'all should know by now that this game was a ripoff to begin with. And if you don't believe me, here you go. So while people rant and rave and argue and spend thousands of dollars on a ripoff game, there's another game that deserves more credit, and it keeps flying under the radar. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Play to Cure, Genes in Space by Cancer Research UK. That's right, this actually helps things and actually teaches you some things, and yet this game flies on the radar. But we can sit here and praise Flappy Bird to the moon. It makes no sense of what's going on today in the gaming community. Now, I understand a lot of people want to say, well, a lot of those people are casual gamers or whatever. Yes, but you have to be kidding me if you think that this is okay, that people can rage over such a game being shut down as opposed to a game about cancer research not getting any support. The link will be in the info bar. That's right. And that's not all. I want to talk about support, okay? And like I said, strength in numbers and idiots and things of that nature. For those who don't know, Anita Sarkeesian, we got to talk about this. That's right. I know you say, oh, event, don't go too far. I really don't care. For my safety, I'm keeping my mouth off safety, okay? Understand this. Anita Sarkeesian is given an award as video game ambassador. Are you serious? What has she done that she has deserved video game ambassador? We are talking about a person who makes videos and contradicts herself constantly, okay? We're talking about a person who endorsed the murder, all right, killing of Randy Pitchford in a fan fiction, which right there alone should take her credibility away. But yet, people are still okay with this. Now, a number of you people have messaged me about this as of late. We talked about it yesterday on Twitter, and some of you were saying, even her fans kept jumping all over you about it after, questioning her about it. Tell me, as a video game ambassador, what has she done for this community? Because as far as I see, she has divided the community more than helped the community. All right? That's what I see. If you're an ambassador, and people don't understand the word ambassador, you have to understand, you have to be for everything. You can't just be an ambassador for sexism or sexual harassment or women in gaming. No. All right? We got to talk about ageism. We got to talk about racism. We got to talk about the violence. We got to talk about people who are killing others over video games. We got to talk about the guys who are robbing stores for Call of Duty or armored trucks for Call of Duty. If you're going to be an ambassador, you're supposed to bring people together, not divide them for your own purpose, for money. Because I guarantee you, when she gets on camera, she turns on this camera, she says, I'm going to get paid. This is going to make me more famous. When I turn on this camera, I'm thinking I'm using it for change, while she's using it for change, if you get what I'm saying. There's a difference. And I hate to just throw myself in this because there are many YouTubers who have tried to help the community out. And many, we're talking helping families out. Not too long ago, a person, had to have their heart surgery. We've done videos showing, exposing companies, DCUO, Devil May Cry, the fighting game community. Hell, we've talked about the politics in the game not too long ago, trying to treat, like I said, as killers, as we just talked about earlier. There are so many topics that have been out there for years that a number of us have, alerted you people on what's going on to make the community stronger, to make you smarter gamers. Where's our word? I'm just wondering. See, phony people will always back phony people. That's the sad part, all right? It doesn't matter about views. It does, because I guarantee you, that's what EA and all these people, that's what they saw. Once they saw how much she was getting, because all she did was say a bunch of stuff, piss off trolls, take the troll comments and say, see, I told you, that's all she did. That's all she did. If you notice, there are a number of women on here on YouTube who have tried to debate her via video and comments, and she just ignores them. Because it's not about that. It's not about the plan. Now, EA has signed her on, as we know, from Mirror's Edge. I will not be playing Mirror's Edge. It's an EA product anyway. They deserve each other because they're both trash. All right? But for her to get an award, for what? For what? What has she done? Nothing. She's done nothing. I told you, as a community, we take these issues head on. That's what we do. I can't tell you how many years before this we talked about sexual harassment and things of that nature. But as soon as she comes along, it's a whole different story. Look, I understand, and a lot of us understand, maybe we're just not pretty enough to be on camera. Maybe we're not, how can we say, photogenic, or maybe we just don't have the right look that they're looking for. That's fine. But it doesn't discount what we're saying, the truth. And I'll put it like this, Anita and her fans, because I tell you now, and your fans who want to come in here, I don't care what you got to say, really. Because at the end of the day, after she did what she did with Randy Pitchford, all right, and endorsed that, instead of saying, hey, look, I appreciate the love, I appreciate the fandom, but this is inappropriate. Instead of her doing that, because, you want to help change the industry, not kill off people. But that's okay, apparently. After that, like I said, her credibility should have been thrown out the window. I should have. But I want to know, Anita, where have you been today? Because Tokyo Pop came out and said this. You want to talk about ignorance? You want to talk about disgusting? First off, Tokyo Pop tried to be slick and talk trash behind an old man's back. That's bad enough as it is, all right? And tried to make fun of an old man playing a game. Then to say that he's playing a little girl's game. So now we have gender locking in video games. Do y'all understand this? That's what they're trying to say. You understand that video games are for everyone. For everyone. It's why we have grown men still playing Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! It's why kids, even though they're underage, are still playing Call of Duty. It's why when we didn't have any rating system, why we as kids were able to play Mortal Kombat or Time Killers. Do you understand where this is going? You cannot gender lock, and this is what they did. They didn't just discriminate off of gender. It's also ageism. He's an old man. He shouldn't be playing a little girl's game. Play whatever the hell he wants. He's a grown-ass man. Y'all understand that? If he wanted to play Barbie Horse Adventure, then he could play Barbie Horse Adventure. Don't give me this. It's sad that this is what happens, but these are the type of people that keep Anita in business. And yet, no reaction to that. And we went after him on Twitter. And of course, this is ignored altogether, so I was like, oh, you're going to be like that? Unfollow you. Fuck you. Don't need you. That simple. But that's not all, Anita. I want to know, since you're ambassador now for all gaming, because that's what an ambassador does, tell me, what about this one? Because this was sent to me from a person on Twitter. What about this? For those who cannot see that on screen, I will post a link in the info bar so you can read that in full, larger. To make a post like that towards a person who has not been there and God knows how long, and you're just now reacting to that, that's pathetic. I'm telling you, the maturity of this community has to get better. Because if it doesn't, we will keep falling for the same thing over and over. All right? Anita showed the hustle game. Got your money, got the fame, walked. That's what she did. Now she's receiving awards. While the rest of us, and there's so many good YouTubers here who understand what's going on, who see it for what it is, who call her on her garbage, but not only that, but the companies as well, and trying to keep you intact of what's going on so that you aren't duped. So that you stay 10 steps ahead of the companies, and yet they get no recognition. Granted, we don't do this for recognition, but the companies really should be paying attention to what's going on. See, the gaming media, as we all know, take and take and take. That's all they do. And when they find somebody who pretty much knows how the game is played and is willing to sell their soul to, get in, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to get into the system. I'm thinking to myself, you're trying to make a deal with these companies or this gaming media when you should be trying to overtake them. But whatever. You should be trying to take back what we had, because right now the community is in shambles. It's horrible, but nobody wants to agree with that because they just say, oh, what are we doing that's so wrong? Because nobody likes to look at themselves and say, hey, it starts with me, there is a problem, let's see if I can change things. Nobody does that these days. Everyone's got to be right. Everyone has to be. Everything's perfect. Everything's sunshines and rainbows, apparently. You've got to be kidding me. It's sad that this is what gaming has come to. And like I said, it needs to be changed. Like I said, there are a lot of YouTubers on here who know what the hell they're doing. There's a lot of YouTubers on here who don't deserve to be in this community. And there's a lot of YouTubers on here who've already admitted they only do this for money. I'm sorry, but if you're doing this for money, you're pathetic. Pathetic. Because there are so many better jobs out there and careers you could be doing. It almost makes me feel like, just like gamers, what we said earlier in the video, how they have everything handed to them, it seems like people just want to do as little as possible and get as much as possible. Lazy as fuck. But whatever. Like I said, this is just the start of things. I will be going after you. I don't care how big of a YouTuber you are. I don't care how small of a YouTuber you are. Alright? I have so much information stocked up, it's just crazy. I'm just waiting. And if you're afraid, you should be afraid. If you don't even know who I am, guess what? That's fine too. But eventually, I'm going to contact you. I'm going to get after you. I don't care. This has to stop. There's a reason why these companies, if you haven't realized by now, that they're trying to bait you into things. Before it was just, hey, check out our game. If you like it, give us some feedback, and that's it. Now they gotta, pay trolls. They gotta devise plans. They gotta sit up and divide communities to get them to, to buy stuff. They have all these other things in the air, which, to try and get you to sell a game, which they didn't do back in the day. They didn't need to do it back in the day. What does that tell you? Either they don't believe in their own product, or they're just trying to turn you into something that you shouldn't be. Instead of educating gamers, they're trying to turn you into lemmings, sheep. And like I said, in strength in numbers, you have your smart people, but also, you know what else has strength in numbers? Zombies.